Hello and welcome back to ThoughtBot's AI in Focus. I'm ThoughtBot developer and CEO Chad Pytel, and today I'm joined by senior designer at ThoughtBot, Moses Amama. Moses, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Hi, everyone.
So Moses, you recently got the opportunity to do a product design sprint with a new client, and we've been showing that kind of work on this show for the past few months, where we've been prototyping rapidly as part of the product design sprint. The product design sprint you did was actually sort of just about figuring out what the product might be and then prototyping the UI, right?
Yep.
And so we're very fortunate because we've figured out how to bring the next step of this product to life on AI in Focus. And so that's what we're going to be doing today is we're going to start the actual development of a version of that application that we can do publicly. So it's not quite exactly what the product design sprint that you did is about. But it is a version of that we're going to be able to do publicly. So, and what that is a directory for podcasts and shows, video shows, like shows on YouTube, like this one, that people can organize their shows. It's a directory of shows that allows people to discover new shows, find shows that they like, and share the shows that they love. So, Moses, thank you for joining me on this journey. The plan is that we're going to get started this week, and we'll go from there, bringing the progress from week to week on the show as well. So, those of you who have been watching the show have seen a little bit of this process. We had Lewis on to go through the prototyping of Teledraft, but we started from the functional prototype that already existed. So on today, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. We don't even have the application generated yet. We just have the notes from the product design sprint, as well as some stuff that we've created in prep in terms of feature list and that kind of thing that we're going to do. So I'm going to share my screen, and So up here are the a sanitized version of the notes from the sprint. So we wanted to create a modern discovery platform that would allow people to find, follow, engage with creative content, shows, stories, creators that they feel. And we want really the platform to be personal, trustworthy, and emotionally resonant.
Mm,
And in the spaces that this directory is going to focus on, finding content is really difficult. There's currently no directory of shows at all. And so people are reliant on word of mouth, social engagement, YouTube discovery, or maybe in your podcast client. But podcast clients aren't very good for that. So there's a real opportunity to design a podcast and show directory that helps people find new shows or to share the shows that they love with others. Moses, you're new, you were sort of new to this space when you got started. So, what was, I don't know, was there something surprising to you about this space?
Yeah, actually, what one of the first things that a lot of things surprised me about the space, by the way, but the first thing that surprised me majorly was how big a space it is, and also how that has not sort of like popped up on my radar before that time.
Hmm.
And the second thing was when I got in, and because it's one of the things that happened like during sprints for me as a designer. I get introduced into this new space, and at the end of the sprint, I know a lot about the space. One of
Hmm.
the things I discovered is how much fun it is in actually, and how dedicated and how much fun the people that are already in the space are having.
Yeah. Yeah. That being said, I think that this problem actually exists across multiple niches. Like, so take, for example, that we're not doing, but if say we were doing cooking shows, there's a lot of podcasts about food. There's a lot of shows where people are cooking on YouTube and on different platforms and everything, but there really isn't a directory
Mm,
focused on that niche that allows
mm,
people who love those shows to find them, talk about them,
mm,
and share them with people.
mm,
Um, and so I think that's one of the interesting things about this. And I think it's in particular from a product perspective, I think there's been sort of a fracturing of social media and online over the past several years, which has
mm.
exacerbated this problem.
Yeah.
So the reason why this is important, if you've watched previous shows, you'll have seen it. And what we're going to do today is we're basically building up a Claude MD file that is going to give a bunch of context to Claude Code about the product and the goals that we're trying to achieve and the way that we code. So that's what we're working towards right now. We're building our Claude MD file. So we've got this context from the sprint. We've also distilled down a series of notes about the specific features that we're expecting to have on the platform in a sort of plain language way. You can do this written as user stories as well, or jobs to be done stories, but and it works okay. But in some ways, it's better to be a little bit more direct with the code agent, is what I've found.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you found anything, Moses, with that.
No, you're absolutely spot on with that. Generally, I like to give it more direct context and see what it comes out with from the get go, and then probably start refining and tweaking and bringing in some very specific styling or specific directions as regards the particular thing I'm trying to do. But
Yeah.
I find that it works. It works really great when you're able to just give it like very straight to the point context to know what to
Yeah.
do.
So here's what I've written. Feel free to suggest tweaks as we go, but a website that allows users to discover and share their favorite podcasts and streaming video shows. Shows can be podcasts or shows available on YouTube or other video platforms. Shows have a title, description, a large banner image, and a thumbnail image. Shows have episodes. Episodes have title, description, image, and URL. Actually, I'm not going to read all these bullet points. Episodes have a titled episodes. So episodes of a show can optionally be organized into seasons, and each show is from a creator. And then we have a bunch more features listed. We're not going to get to all of these today, all the way down to if a show has an RSS feed, we're going to automatically pull in that RSS feed to do new
Yeah.
episodes. So this
And
will be
one,
future functionality. Go ahead.
yeah. One more thing I wanted to add is it's also important because generally, the way discovery happens now is uh, sort of like most things are literally put in people's faces and are sort of like pushed towards people, more popular
Mhm.
shows and all, and that tends to hide some really amazing shows or podcasts that people should discover. So it would be great to be able to also have something that um, kind of works more with the user's interests. So
Yeah.
they're easily discoverable based off what the user is interested in.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. And I think that we won't get to that today, but this idea of an onboarding experience that finds out what you like, or and then even beyond onboarding to be able to find either similar shows based on the ones that you like, or even to just follow trends of, okay, more people are subscribing to this show, let's highlight that in the
Yeah,
directory, something like that.
yeah,
So that's the context there. The other things that we're going to add to the Claude MD file are at Thoughtbot. We've been creating a template Claude MD file for our Rails applications. It's currently in pull request. It's not merged in the guides yet, but we're going to pull that in. And the other thing we're going to pull in is some specific guidance from a blog post that's going to come out soon, written by Lewis, who was on the stream a couple of weeks ago, doing this around test-driven development. So, but Claude works inside of a project. So the first thing we need to do is generate a project. So we are going to generate a Rails application using Thoughtbot's gem suspenders. So suspenders is our opinionated Rails template. It provides standard configuration, gems, that kind of thing that we practice at Thoughtbot, all in this one line. It's built on Rails generators. So one funny thing is I did. So this is the one of the only things I tested before we started on the stream. I was concerned if we just call this app directory, whether that would conflict with built-in Rails naming or Ruby naming. So I wanted to confirm that it doesn't. It doesn't. So we're good to go. So it's at github.com/thoughtbot/suspenders. You get this instruction, and we're going to be able to run that. So that's going to run and generate a Rails app. It's going to install a bunch of standard gems. It's going to migrate the database, get everything set up. Things like inline SVGs, that kind of thing, just automatically installing those gems and configuring them all. It defaults to RSpec and installs RSpec, gets that set up. So it does a lot for us to get started really quickly. The biggest problem with suspenders is how difficult it is to maintain. That's the biggest problem with suspenders. Okay, um, so it finished. So everything should be all set. So I should be able to run bin dev. Oh, I got to switch into the directory that was created and run bin dev. And that's going to start our Rails app. And we'll go, and there's our Rails app running, fully configured and ready to go. So now that we have that, you may have noticed, and I think I called it out on a previous stream, that I have been experimenting with the editor Zed instead of Microsoft Code. So we're going to create a Claude code file at the top level of the directory, claude.md. Okay, let's pull in our template from Thoughtbot. We're going to customize this a little bit, but it'll be a good place to start. So just reviewing, you're an expert in Ruby on Rails, Postgres, and Hotwire. Follow RESTful routing, prefer classes to modules. So it's a lot of different things that, from a code perspective, we prefer or do at Thoughtbot. And then going back to the approach, this is from a blog post that's coming out soon around testing. So we're going to take, we're going to keep use RSpec for testing framework, use factories, and test avoid lets and before. So the reason why testing is important, well, there's lots of reasons why, but one of the main reasons why I espouse still doing test-driven development in this flow is that it really helps keep boundaries on the AI agent coding and allows you to maintain control of what's happening so that it doesn't get away from you and do too much. Then secondarily, it makes sure that we're building an application by having great tests and built in a red-green refactor cycle. This is not a throwaway prototype that we're starting to create today. We're going right from the sprint with the clickable prototype to actually building the real foundation of our application. So let's paste this in. Oh, that's not what I pasted.
Okay. While we're doing that, as someone who's Team VS Code, and maybe you may have said in previous episodes, but I'm just curious as to why Zed is a preference for you, or why you're just experimenting with it, basically.
I'm just experimenting, although it's positive so far. One, Zed is like a native application, so it feels a little bit speedier and faster than Visual Studio Code, which is based on Electron. So that's a minor thing, but there's a lot in Visual Studio Code in terms of when you're working in a Ruby app, the IntelliSense that it was putting on everything was very distracting to me. I think that was the final thing which said when Joel Kinville and a few other people at Thoughtbot said that they were experimenting with Zed, I was like, okay, I'm going to go over and experiment with Zed now.
Awesome.
But certainly it's not like, oh my God, everyone needs to move to Zed. And Zed has a built-in coding agent, but we are not using that today. We're going to use Claude Code today. I haven't experimented much with the Zed agent. And so I don't know whether that's good or not compared to Claude Code. So we're going to go to our trusty Claude Code to. Okay, so then the other thing, so this is our conventions for development, and we need to bring in some information about our actual project. So what I'm not sure about is whether we want to bring in all of this information. Let's copy it over and see how we feel.
Okay. And with like projects I've worked on, like with AI assistants, I typically like breaking it up into like separate parts
Yeah.
and feeding it like incrementally as I progress through the project. But I'm curious to also see what we get here.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I don't want to lead us astray, because what I would normally do too is only include. I would include less information off the bat. So maybe we should just do that, if that is what we would both do. Um,
But a question I would have is the cloud MD file. Just
yeah,
it feels like it, because it feels like it also works like the when you create like a project on the main cloud app, how you're able to sort of like attach most of this or the documents that sort of like form
yeah,
context.
yeah.
So maybe it's okay to have it like this, and then when we get to the actual prompting, we don't sort of like we give prompts based on specific things we're trying to do,
Okay.
not like lump everything together.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm cool with that. I think we can keep the reins on it and make it work. Okay, so we've got our Claude MD file. So the way Zed is, there's an agent panel down here, and you can actually, Zed has actually, I think they invented it, called
Wow.
ACP, Agent Client Protocol,
Nice.
and that allows you to use multiple agents. So
Mm,
by default, there's the Zed agent, then also Claude Code, Codex CLI, and Gemini CLI built in. So
mm,
you can start, and actually you can have multiple threads with multiple agents going at the same time. But you just choose Claude Code.
mm,
We're still in always ask right now,
mm.
and you can choose between Opus or Haiku. We're going to leave that to default right now.
Okay.
I'm actually curious. But I don't. So we're going to. I'm just asking it to read the Claude MD file and let me know what you think. It's asking questions. Before we start work, it would be helpful to know, is the database schema already defined? What is the approval workflow for community submissions for automated episode? I'm just going to say we're going to work in small vertical
Yep.
slices. We don't need to worry about approval workflows or automated episode pulling yet. The database
Yeah.
is starting from scratch along with this new app we're creating.
Yeah.
So then just for experimental purposes, I think it will be interesting. what does it say? Some options that would provide immediate value. Creators, simple starting point, shows, episodes, add episodes to existing shows. So you and I talked a little bit about this in
Yeah.
advance. I think that starting with shows
Shows. Yeah.
to create and display shows without episodes yet, which is the suggestion of Claude, was exactly where we landed as the best
Yeah.
place to start, where we're going to be able to get something in place quickly and then
Yeah.
move over to making it look awesome. So let's do that. Which feels like the right slice to you?
The shows, definitely.
Yeah.
Because from the shows we were able to easily like um, add the creators part and add the episodes part too. So it looks like shows, then episodes, and then maybe creators.
Yeah. So and you can see it's laid out a plan of what it's going to do, but more importantly, it is validating that you can see where at the end it says where to start. Following TDD, I should write failing tests first for you to review. Would you like me to start with the model test or full user flow? So full user flow is what I prefer. So it says it's confirming our spec is set up with Capybara for system testing. Okay, so it's written the spec, and I'm going to review it. So this is a system test. It successfully creates a show for a creator. It's not using FactoryBot to create the spec or the creator. So actually, I'm going to. We don't need to introduce the concept of creators yet. That's one additional thing being introduced
Yeah.
that we don't need to introduce. So we don't need to introduce the concept of creators yet.
Creators. Yeah.
And I think this is really important if you want to build a production application. It is better going in small, slow slices. I still believe you're going to work faster over time for real code than trying to accomplish too much all at once. And you know, it's good to push the boundaries, but we don't need to introduce the concept of creators yet. We can just introduce shows at this point.
Yeah.
Oh. User refused to run tool. Oh, I shouldn't have. I typed back before rejecting the suggestion, and apparently it threw it off. So I think is not supported by Claude Code. Available commands. Okay, I'm going to start a new thread.
Okay.
That's too bad. We are getting started. New app. Let's get started by just introducing shows. So it's still picking up, creating the test first. But okay, so now I'll be careful to reject this. Uh, uh, so I'm telling, like, just introduce shows with a title. So shows have a title. It requires a title. Right. Okay. So I'm realizing we want to use factory bot and
Okay.
shoulda matchers for our specs. Oh, and that's the kind of thing where when you hit it, we want to check our Claude code and say use factories. It does say use factories. So integrating that in. Okay, so it's introducing a factory for show with a title. That's great. I'm going to allow that. Okay, and it's picked up now. It's using shoulda validate presence of to do that spec. So great. Oh, that's interesting. It's adding a spec to validate the factory that it is there. We don't need. Oh, we don't need a spec to validate the factory. So the reason why, and this is where we already have infrastructure in the app to validate factories. I'm almost positive that that's part of suspenders. So we don't need that. Great. So now we're at a point where we've got a model spec that is good. And I realized that before we started with I realized, but then forgot that we started with the system spec before.
Okay.
Let's add a system spec before implementing the code. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, for like one of the benefits of sort of like this approach to development is it helps designers who are not very technical and product managers to also sort of like rapidly prototype and test out their ideas. What's a common like pitfall, or what's something pretty common that you think like they should pay attention to when they're like approaching it from a TDD perspective also?
I think I think the important thing is that you maintain like understanding and ownership over the code being written. And so the system will learn. So it don't be content to just be like, well, that's not how I would do it, but it's okay because it just generated a bunch of functionality for me. The system will learn. So it's worth, and we're a little slower in the beginning getting started because we are having to define everything from scratch, but we're building up that context that is going to, so for example, it just made some tests now and it's using factory bot because we fixed that. Well, we told it to use that. And so now it's doing that. So we have our system spec. I think so. That's what I would say is probably
Yeah.
important. Um, so we have a system spec to display all shows. It links to individual show pages, and then viewing a show. Um, okay. Okay. Since uh, since the first spec clicks the link to go to the show, don't need an individual system spec for that. Okay, so we ended up with just a spec that goes to the index page, clicks on one of the podcasts, and then can see. So we're going to allow that. So what I'm hoping it's going to do now is actually run the failing tests. So we have an instruction here to actually run the specs, but it hasn't done it yet. So I'm going to explicitly ask run the specs to make sure they fail. Great. That's going to run the specs, and we expect them to fail. It failed here with uninitialized constant show, which is exactly what we'd expect because we don't have the show model yet. And it says, perfect, the specs are failing as expected. Uninitialized constant show, the show model doesn't exist yet. Perfect. Okay, yes, we're ready to implement now. So it's beginning with the migration and the model. It's creating a show with a title that's a string. Perfect. So this is the migration that was created. Oh, it's editing the migration to make sure that title can't be false. Perfect. Now we're going to run that migration. So this is creating the model with the title presence true. So so right now we're in allow mode. Once we get up and run, once I really get up and running, I no longer do it like in allow mode. I'll eventually switch to always allow. But in this case, since we started our Claude MD from scratch and we have no context and everything, I'm making sure that it's doing the right thing at each step of the way. Even down to like, if you notice, it ran the generator to generate the migration rather than just writing the migration by itself. Things like that. It's like, okay, yes, it's understanding that we have a Rails app and that it knows how to work within a Rails app and that kind of thing. So those are good signals that like we're on the right track. Okay, so it ran the specs automatically after thinking that they were going to pass and confirmed that they did pass. And so now it's moving on to implementing the controller, starting with the routes. So thinking ahead, I think when it comes to styling, I think it would be
Yeah.
nice to tell Claude to use placeholder images. So then we can go in and we can implement the image, but we can see how it looks without having to have added attachments and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. The placeholder images, though, would we should we just have like default placeholder images, or should we allow it sort of like pick up any image link that generic image link that it can?
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the placeholders, just the default placeholders, could be okay for now,
Mhm.
basically, because one thing I found with like working with allowing AI companions to bring out generic images is sometimes it doesn't always get this like the sizes correctly, and that would take a lot of time to then go and start giving it dimensions and all that. But we with the default placeholders we could sort of like specify the dimensions up front, and it can easily get that for us.
So it tried to run the specs and found that FactoryBot wasn't configured to run in the system specs once it got to that line. So it's fixing that problem. No root matches for base.css. Um, um, so what it's doing is, what it looks like it's doing to me is it's missing the CSS file route. Don't quite know what that means. The only thing it's actually doing right now is adding main around the content, so I'm going to let it do that. So what it's saying is that the CSS files exists. This configure, it should be application.postcss.css. I'm pretty sure that that's right. I think suspenders uses postcss. So what it's properly identified that the CSS was never built, apparently. So I'm going to let it do that. No root matches components.css. So I'm wondering whether we should let it fix that, or whether, because we know we're going to replace this CSS
Yeah.
setup. So I'm just going to check. And actually, while it does that, I'm going to go to our terminal here, and I'm going to, because I forgot to commit even the initial project build. So I'm just gonna add everything. So it is trying to fix an asset problem. I'm going to let it run this command, and then if it doesn't work, I'm going to found it. The app assets style sheets directory is in the assets path, which means prop set shaft is serving the individual CS files. I need to remove it from the asset path since we're building CSS with post CSS. I'm going to reject this because I think we don't want to do that. So before it gets too far there, we'll reject it. So we should have running specs. Oops. Oh. And that base CSS problem wasn't fixed. So that's too bad. Let's go over to our browser and confirm. Okay. So then when you go to shows, this is rendering. So it's actually what is the spec doing? Oh, I see. So when we went to shows, it is responding with 404 to those individual requests. Yeah. And that base.css file is empty. There's the application post CSS.
Is it worth bringing in Rue now if
Yeah.
we're having this challenge with the style sheet?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So but before we do that, we can the reason why this is happening, just so we're clear, is because Capybar is configured to raise server error. So any server error it gets, even if it's on a separate request for the CSS file, is currently causing the spec to fail. And so that's why we're seeing this particular error, even though when we go to it in the browser, it does render. Okay, so let's bring in Rue. So Rue is a new set of base CSS styles from Thoughtbot. Moses, while I get set up to bring this in, you want to describe what Rue is?
Okay, so Rue is basically a CSS boilerplate. So it's not a framework like I would say Tailwind, but it just sort of like creates the foundational structure of your style sheet. So you've got your tokens in there, you've got like your like tokens around colors, around typography, and your CSS file is basically structured. And the amazing thing about Rue is you can use it in sort of like a generic default project file. So if, for instance, you want to experiment quickly with just like styling a HTML file, it works perfectly well. And you can also use it within like a, um, a framework or a project like Rails or 11T or anything like that. It embeds seamlessly and it sort of like replaces your style sheet folder.
Cool. So we're going to bring up a terminal panel here, and we're going to run this command. So based on the root, the base command or the generated command works like Moses was just saying in any framework, not just Rails. So when we run it here, it's going to generate CSS directory structure, and then we'll move it into the places Rails expects. And so where it puts it is just in a CSS directory, and it's called an app.css. So we can delete those 4 files. So now in our style sheets directory, we have the structure. And then I believe we can rename this to application.
Yeah.
.css. So then in our application.html file, we want to it's called app.
Yeah.
We can put it back to app and see what happens.
Perfect. Yeah. So this may be a huge risk, but we can also always revert anyway. But it's also possible to allow like Cloud Code to adapt the and make the various changes wherever it finds it.
Yeah. Let's just go over here though and see if we still have these errors. Yeah, so now, given the way prop shaft works is in development mode, it doesn't bundle all of the assets together in one file. It includes them all like that. Is that, I mean, in terms of the way Rue works, is that okay? Or does Rue expect to be bundled all together in one file?
I think I'm trying to remember. I think I read something like that somewhere the last time I was using it. But I think it expects to be bundled together in one file. I'm not entirely sure.
So it says compile optional. Use your preferred CSS compile to bundle everything into one file.
Okay.
In theory, I don't think we need to do that here. I think in theory, if you're using Dart Sash, you'll need to use instead of import in your main app file. You also need to switch file types. Okay, that doesn't apply to us.
Hmm.
So let's go back to Claude Code here. And what I want to do is I want to switch from using post CSS to just using prop shaft directly. And I actually don't know how to do that off the top of my head. So I'm going to ask Claude Code, can we switch from the project using post CSS to using prop shaft directly? Okay, so what it's doing is it's changing that the change that I thought we were going to make, which was changing it to application. It's doing that
Okay.
in the layout. So I'm going to let that go. Now let's application CSS. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so now it's just including application.css, which has nothing in it.
Yeah.
So now if we take, it's running all the specs. Okay.
Okay.
So now we have Rue
Yep.
successfully installed here. No errors on rendering. And in the head, we have our, where is it? Here we go. The application CSS, and it's compiled all
Yeah.
together using prop shaft, which is the default for Rails.
That felt pretty seamless, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Good. So let's commit that. Uh, Install Rue and switch to prop shaft. Oh, okay. I never pushed remotely, which is fine. Okay, so when we go to this in our browser now, we have no shows. We also have no way to create shows. Um, so let's add a way to create shows quickly.
Okay.
Okay, let's add the ability to create shows following TDD. I'll start with the system spec for creating shows. So if this, yeah, cool. What I was looking for is I'm really looking for it to take in everything that we did and get this in one shot. And I think it did.
Yeah.
Got it in one shot. So great.
Nice.
Including creating the system test first. So that's strange. The test passed when it should have failed. Let me check if there's existing code. The test is failing as expected. Now let's implement the feature. I think it maybe ran the wrong spec, line 18 of shows spec. I think that may be what actually happened there. Okay, new, create, looks good, show params, perfect. I happen to know, because it's in the docs, that Rue prefers the labels around the text fields and that kind of thing. Should we fix that now?
Yeah, I think so. Just
Okay.
so that we don't so it doesn't slow us down later.
Yeah. So what I think we can do actually is can just use this exact wording. In root styling, you should be nesting input within a label. Okay, so it's trying to take into account the suggestion, but not using the Rails helper. So I'm saying use the Rails helpers for form inputs and labels. I'm just going to go back to the root documentation and okay. Okay. So we want to tell it put the label in a label text in a span. Okay, I think that's going to give us what we want now. So we'll accept that. Okay, it's adding the link to a new show page. Okay, cool. So the tests are passing now. And it's just going to run all the tests just to make sure. Great. So now if we go over to our app, we have the new show link. We're getting some basic stylings from Rue. We can call it AI in focus. Very meta.
Nice.
Okay, so we have our show. Flash messages aren't styled. Nothing styled here. And that's the show page. And at shows, we have just a bare list of shows.
Nice.
Okay, so let's make this look better. What do you think? How do we want to prompt it?
Okay, so with I think the first thing we want to add is just a bit of like margin and padding around the buttons, just so it's like it's looking prime and proper. Um, and I guess we're using like Rue's default typography choices here. There's probably no need to, and then maybe staying with the colors and all. Yeah. So just adding a bit of, first of all, margin and padding around the body. So the text are not like leaning all the way to the right, giving the buttons a bit of those default styling also around it. And then maybe we can do some hierarchy around the name of the show, the way it appears. Maybe we want it a bit larger, so we apply like maybe a H1 heading or a H2 heading, depending on how we want to show it. If we're calling in the default images, then we may probably just create a card component also. So when we create the show, it appears in a card.
Right. Should we jump right to that, or do we want to? Well, let's add the body padding first, right? So how would you add some padding to
the body? Yeah. For desktop, I would prefer to go with say maybe 64 64 pixels. I don't know the conversion to REM, but we can prompt it to change convert it to REM automatically.
Yeah. Now, does Rue have like base spacing kinds of things?
I should have seen it. Let me see. Yeah, I think I have seen it. Let's go to variables. Okay, so we have more of like sizing, borders. Okay, yeah, we have base. We have the spacing tokens there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, okay. So for desktop, maybe let's use the I guess one REM, like the base spacing token. Yeah. Just
Okay,
using
so
the
I
word
typed
padding.
at. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Now using the word padding should be able to add like our top left and bottom and right padding at once.
Okay, that looks good to me.
Hmm, okay.
It didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it needs us to specify that we want to add that around the body element.
Didn't it? Oh, where did it? Uh,
Yeah, it did.
so it introduced. So I think the reason why is it introduced a base.css file,
Uh,
and didn't add that file to be imported anywhere.
mhm.
So how do you prefer to name like that?
um, Maybe we'll call it a main because it's already within like the base folder.
Hmm.
Yeah. So maybe we could call it main, and then so we know that whatever goes into that style sheet basically affects the entire body element.
So I'm saying let's rename base to main.css,
Mm.
but it should be a partial that's included
Yeah.
in application. And again, this is the tip where we don't necessarily want to just make this change ourselves,
Mm.
because then
Mm.
Claude isn't necessarily going to learn to do it right the
Yeah.
next time. Okay, so it's adding that to it's interesting because it's adding it to the bottom before the importing of any components. Um, which I think is fine.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
if you agree, I'll
Yep.
allow it.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. It's Did it create a component called main?
I didn't create a component called main, no.
Okay.
We just have our main CSS file
Says.
with the
Mm.
styling on the body.
Yeah. Because it looked like some HTML markups that wrapped around main.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Um, pane. That's just in application layout.
Okay.
The
Okay.
the
Yeah.
content is in
Okay.
main.
Yeah. Okay. But while we figure that out,
Yeah.
one more a way we could also like approach this, because that seems like a change we could do pretty easily, is for the shows, thinking about how we display the shows now, we probably would need to have two components for the shows. So which of the shows are we making featured? So maybe a featured component for the show, and then like a smaller card component for it that we could put like in a horizontal sliding carousel if we want to, or just put like in a grid or something. But we probably would want to show like one large featured and
Hmm.
those other smaller components.
Let let's think about how to prompt that. I'm just going to restart the server
Okay.
because I think that may actually be the problem because
Okay.
um, we switched from
Mm.
post CSS to prop shaft, and
Mm-hmm.
I noticed one yeah. Okay, let's think about so let's prompt it to do the styling, and if that doesn't
Mm.
show up, then that indicates that we are not picking up the latest changes from our
Yeah.
CSS files.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so tell me what to type, Moses.
All right. Okay. So create a card, a thumbnail card component. Let's start with the thumbnail. Yeah. Of course.
For should we say for shows?
For yeah, for shows. Yeah. It should have a title. I know we've defined it in our test, but do we want to give it a title, or should we allow it generate like a generic title?
No, we can have it should have a title. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it should have a title, a description,
Hmm.
and I'm not so sure about the button, but a button because it's on the web for now.
Should the whole card be clickable though?
Yes, that's why I was saying I'm not so sure about the button. But the whole class should
Oh, I
also
see what
be
you're saying.
clickable. Yeah, should be clickable.
Should also be a button so
Yep.
that it's clear.
Yeah, the button can appear on hover, um, basically. So yeah, when a user is sort
Sure.
of like moves their mouse pointer around it, the button appears,
Hmm.
basically. It should have an image.
Show card should
Yeah.
have an image. Okay.
Yeah. So there's something I want to describe here.
Yeah.
So if this is a HTML markup I'm writing by myself, the card will also have like a footer. So the name, the description, the button would be on the footer, and then the image would sort of like be on the header or something. So I want to tell it to make sure that the image occupies like the full width of the top section of the card.
Hmm.
And then the footer that contains like the title, the description, should have the base padding that is described on row. So it will use like the base
Yep.
spacing on row. Yeah. So I think that should create our thumbnail card.
Okay, and I think we
Oh,
should say use placeholders
yeah.
for any uh, attributes of a show that are not yet implemented. Okay. So it's saying, let me create a thumbnail card component for shows. I'll start with a system spec, which is interesting. And so it's messed up. So it's gone and it's generating a migration to add image and description to shows. So I'm just going to reject it and say we can use placeholder images and descriptions for
Okay.
shows right now.
Okay.
Okay. So it's creating a component in show card.css.
Mm. Yeah.
Is that how you would name it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, we're not thinking if what we're not right now thinking about what type of show. We're
Right.
not defining that.
Mm-hmm. So how, when it comes to the generation of the CSS, like, is your flow usually to like scrutinize the CSS or to accept the first version and then look at it visually?
Um, so it may be working a little bit differently for us at the moment on Z, but
Mm.
with VS Code, especially when I'm using an AI companion, it actually sort of like renders it on the browser. So it's easy for me to go look at the component and see if it looks like what I
Mm.
want. And before I come back to look at like the CSS it has generated pretty quickly to see if there's anything that it's using that I don't want to use. So it just helps me scrutinize it a little bit faster. Yeah.
Okay. So to simulate that flow, I'm going to accept it.
Okay.
Um, because we're still in not always a lot, so it's not even writing to the files first.
Mm,
So
mm,
so it's importing the component. That's correct.
mm.
Okay, so it's doing a link to the show card. It's using this placeholder image for the thumbnail, and then there's a footer with
Yeah.
the title, description, and a button inside of it.
Fine.
So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I notice it's using BEM syntax
Mm.
automatically
Yeah.
for the CSS classes.
Which is something I always advise. And for the reviews, right? The reason why I prefer looking at it visually, maybe it's because I'm a designer, but when I look at the card, I instantly sort of like I'm able to pick what part of like the CSS I probably need to sort of like scrutinize a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So that just helps me like filter pretty fast.
So it's going and it's going to put the shows in a grid.
Hmm. Oh,
Do we
it's
want to
going
let it
jumping
do
ahead of
that?
me.
Yeah. Do we want to let it do that, or should we
I
pause and
mean,
go take a look at what it looks like? I think we should pause and look at what it looks like.
yes, yeah. Putting it on the grid is what we're gonna do next, but I want to see what it looks like first.
Okay.
Okay. The image is not rendering,
Right. Uh,
or do we need to
I
click on
mean,
the show first?
This is the thing that it did via.placeholder.com 400 by 200.
Uh,
I
let's
don't
see.
know. I don't know what that is.
Uh, Placeholder.com, probably not via
Yeah.
placeholder.com.
Well, it's placeholder.com doesn't even render anything. It's not a real thing.
Okay, I'm seeing our card is pretty like wide. Um,
hmm
Maybe it wants us to define like a dimension for the card itself. But this also makes me feel like it's not reading our styling.
Yeah. So let's see if we can confirm that. So show card title. Yeah, there's no. It's not picking up any classes for
Okay.
that class. Um, so we need to fix that problem. Um, so we have a procfile.dev, which is currently running yarn build CSS
Mm.
watch. That's for um, I think we can remove that. Stop the server.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna delete. What did it say? It was app assets builds.
Uh,
Okay, I'm gonna.
Something changed?
Something changed. It looks
Yeah.
like it's not picking up brew at
Mm.
all anymore. But let's
Yeah.
confirm that actually. Yeah.
Ah.
So now all of that stuff is missing again.
Yeah.
And we have application layout here, the style sheet, link tag for application. Let me restart the server.
Okay.
Hmm.
Mm. Okay.
So something's not configured.
Yeah.
It is pulling in. Okay, let's ask for help.
Yeah.
So it looks like our application.css file is not being pulled in. I think this broke when we tried to switch from post CSS to prop shaft. Is prop shaft properly configured? So style.j's path is there. The issue is that application.css has import statement, which PropStash doesn't process. It just serves files as is. We need to either use post CSS or manually combine the CSS files. I thought I see post CSS is still configured. The issue is that we have application. Okay, let's let it in the hopes that we get something working. I'm going to let it put post CSS back. Yeah, so it's renaming it. It's putting it back. Okay, then I manually deleted the build from there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah, go ahead.
our placeholder image link is still broken.
Right.
I'm trying to think if there are on Splash, maybe, or any platform that sort of like lets us generate like placeholder links. Let me just do a quick Google.
I'm typing the placeholder images are broken. Can we use Unsplash instead?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think the link it was trying to use is placehold. So I found the placehold.co.
Still.
Yeah. Let's prompt it to use placehold, like a placeholder image from placehold.co.
Placehold.co.
Yeah. We can define the sizes if we want to. There's a placehold.co /400 /600 by 400.
Is that the right URL format? Placehold.co /400 by 200?
Yep. Let's see what it looks like. I've not seen 400 by 200 though, but just 600 by 400 and 400. Okay, yeah, it works. Okay. Maybe just hover around the card. Let's see.
Yeah. So it has hover style where it raises and the button to view show.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe let's put that in, or before we do that, maybe let's create like the featured card. Yeah. So let's create the, if we can write the prompts now.
Yeah.
All right. So create a featured version of the card component. Make it fill the what's the word? Make it fill the horizontal space within the body. Also, use a placeholder image from placehold.co. If I'm correct, that should have a width of like say 1,200 by or maybe can we just allow you to use like a large image? So you should pick one that is proportionately
Yeah.
okay.
Use a large placeholder image from placehold.co.
Yeah. The featured card should still have all the attributes of the card.
I'm
but
putting
they
of
should
the
be
regular
placed,
card.
yeah, but they should be placed on the image. We don't want to give it a footer.
Without what? A filter?
Yeah, no, without a footer. A
Oh,
footer,
without a footer.
FOW. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what that looks like.
Should we say to use the first show as the featured show for now?
All right, yeah. I'm just I'm just worried that it would sort of like change the styling of the card component, the thumbnail card we just created, because that's the first
Hmm.
show, isn't it? Or do we need to create another show before we
No,
run
oh, I
this?
think we can create another show if we need to, but I don't think it's going to mess up the.
Okay.
Okay, so it added dash dash featured
Hmm.
variant. Uh, so it's writing. Oh, okay. So it's a new card
Okay.
partial for
Hmm.
featured shows. So it's a whole nother HTML markup, which actually makes sense because the markup should be different for the featured card
Yep.
because you have the.
Yep.
Okay. So see, it's doing the featured show, the first show, and then it's uh, showing all the rest of the shows as not featured. So
Hmm.
we will need to add another show, but we can do that.
Okay.
So now it's trying desperately again to put the rest of the shows in a grid.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's already intuitively knowing that's the direction we want to go.
Hmm.
Okay, so we don't need the button on the featured show.
So now we have two shows.
Mm.
Okay, we don't need a button. So do
Or
you want to give that
hang on,
feedback?
hang on. Uh,
Yeah.
we do need a button,
Okay.
but it doesn't. It's a clear CTA like play now or watch now, depending on the type of show. Uh, but it shouldn't appear on hover. I think that's the problem I had with
It
it.
should just always be there.
Yes, and it should not span the entire width of the featured card. Um,
Okay.
so
The
I'm
view
thinking of
show
a good.
button, the
Yeah.
featured show, should instead be a watch button and
Hmm.
should always be shown,
Yeah.
not just on hover.
Yeah. It should have a width. It should have a width of one desktop. So I'm just gonna say it should have a width of say 64 pixels and 32 pixels height, but it should. Um, I want Cloud Code to sort of like look at rule and figure out like the dimension that fits this and work with it instead, not like
You
putting
said
in the
64
pixel. And
pixels wide and what? How many high?
32. That may be
But
that may appear quite big, but let's see. Fun fact on the super large buttons. A designer I know sort of like started that revolution in the Nigerian design space, basically.
Oh yeah.
Always designing large buttons, and for a brief period of time, everybody just got influenced.
Okay, so it's doing the watch button.
Okay.
So it used 4 REM and 2 REM
Mm.
and row spacing variables for padding.
Mm.
So let's go over and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's
It's
still
still
taking the
applying the
full
full.
width.
Yeah. Maybe let's just say it shouldn't take the full width, and it should be able to dynamically reduce the length.
Actually, let me ask, where should it appear? Should it be down there or should it be like here?
Hmm. I would expect it to be down there.
Okay.
Maybe the title, the description, and the button should be a little bit high, but
So it's changing align self to flex start. Does that sound right to you?
yep, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it should start it on the left. So basically, if we
There we go.
add more buttons, yeah, it's fine. Well, the styling is not there, but when we come to add like the proper styling, we can always tweak those. But it works for now. Um, I believe within the row, I think we should be able to create our um, we should be able to put the thumbnail cards now in sort of like a horizontal grid. And that should
Hmm.
also be able to allow us like add some spacing between the featured. So like add like row spacing between each row on the screen.
So I'm typing, okay, let's put the non-featured shows in a horizontal grid with row spacing between the featured and other shows.
Yeah.
It's so
It may
happy it's
probably
finally getting to do the grid now.
great. Yeah.
I notice it's doing large spacing, so that's bigger than 1 REM space between the cards. It might be too
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. It works.
So
So it
we
needs
can
us to
add a
create
new
new shows.
show. It's a good thing we have a bunch of shows.
Yeah. The opinionated thought button X.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, but there's something that's happening there that I'm trying to ignore, but it's bothering me. So the new show button that is just above the featured image.
Hmm.
Probably let's style it and move it somewhere to the right.
That sounds great. And then yeah, let's do that, and then we'll wrap up, and we'll look ahead to next week.
Yep.
So how do you want it? You want to
Okay.
move the new show button? Where do you want to put it?
It's to the right.
To the
I
right.
want to align it on the same on the same level as the title shows.
Okay. Move the new show button should be on the same horizontal level as
Mm.
the show's header.
Yeah.
And you said style it as a button.
Yeah, style it as a button. And I guess it may want to align it as flex end. So it would be at the end of the row. Like,
Okay, I said make sure it's at the end of the row.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to switch to always allow mode now for these last few changes.
Okay. Yeah.
Didn't quite style it as a button, but
But
uh,
yeah.
it,
I think it picked the text button. That's a button style in row.
oh, okay.
Okay. So maybe expand your screen. Let's see what it looks like fully. Yep.
Well, it's a good start.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're actually over time a little bit. So Moses, thanks for joining me on the show today and getting a start on this new application. I'm excited about where it takes us.
Yep. Me too. And looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week, and we're going to continue development on this. This is a great having a cohesive through line for several weeks. I think is going to let us explore both different tooling as we build our application, but we will also eventually be able to potentially integrate some LLM features into the application itself as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We were early today, so stay subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Twitch, and you'll be able to get notified when we have our shows. Moses, thanks again for joining me. This was a lot of fun,
Me too. Thanks, Chad.
and we'll see you next time.